Welcome to Truckee Talks. I'm your host, Maya Schneider. And for this week's show, we have a special discussion. It's a panel discussion, and we're going to be talking about doing business on Donner Summit. And I'd like to introduce to you our panel for today, Bill Hudson from Sugar Bowl. Bill, welcome.
Nice to be here.
Nice
Thanks.
to have you back. Maria Montano from the Summit Restaurant and Bar.
Thank you. It's
welcome.
Nice to be here.
Norm Sayler, welcome back for the 10,000th time. It's nice to have you here, of course, from Donner Ski Ranch.
As always, Maya, thank you, thank you, thank you.
And Steve Lieberman, a man of 1,000 hats, but here today representing the Summit Fire Department and really some history up on Donner Summit.
Well, I've been there not anywhere close to Norm, but longer than the others here.
Well, Norm may have been there since before dirt, but we'll get to that.
Oh, thank
I'd
you.
like to welcome all of you to the show. You're representing various businesses here in the community, but really specific to Donner Summit. And I think a lot of times folks talk about Tahoe Truckee and sort of omit talking about Donner Summit. So we wanted to make sure that we got a show on that featured some of the businesses, maybe some of the challenges and some of the opportunities of doing business on Donner Summit. Norm,
Thanks for acknowledging us.
Oh yeah, we haven't forgotten
Doesn't
about
always
you.
happen.
That's right. Norm, I think I'll start with you just for a little bit. If you can give us a thumbnail sketch of history. You've been there for a while. Tell us a little bit about business before Highway 80 opened and then after Highway 80 opened. And again, just a thumbnail if you would.
Okay, quick. In the old days, going way back prior to the freeway, we had 7,800 cars a day going through our little town. We had 5 service stations. There was 4 grocery stores. We had 5 or 6 bars at that time. The restaurants were there, all of them, the same number. We had 1,600 rentable beds. But that was in the day when dormitories were acceptable. There were quite a few private rooms too, but all of that basically started to dwindle and disappear with 2 items. First of all, when the freeway opened, that was out and whoa, there's a car. I mean, you actually saw a car go by once in a while. And the other one, a lot of people don't realize, it hurt us on the summit, was the disappearance of Lake Van Norden. Because when Van Norden disappeared, that got rid of a number of campgrounds, fishing abilities, and things like that. So it really was a lot harder on us than a lot of people realized.
So the last 40 years have seen some significant changes on Donner Summit from where it was in its heyday, if you will.
Hard to do business in the summertime, and I think that's really what we're talking about today more than anything. Yeah, we can do business in the winter. If it snows, we're going to do business. Even in spite of ourselves, we'll do business. But in the summer, it's very, very hard.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute, and we'll talk about some of the things that are going on the summit to try to recreate or pull back some business there, and hopefully also talk about some opportunities or partnerships for marketing. Steve, I'm going to flip to you for a moment if I can, and just ask if you can give us a brief background of your history on Donner Summit and what it is you do now.
We came back to the summit in 1975. Prior to that, I all through high school came to the summit, skied there, stayed in the dorms that Norm was talking about, and had gone back east. I was a lawyer, I still am a lawyer, but I was in Washington, D.C., and when we decided the urban stress was not exactly what we wanted for our family, we had the shelter problem solved with a family cabin on Donner Summit that moved up there in 1975, and so we've got 27 plus years of the more recent changes in what's happened up there. And I remember in those early years, Norm at one point saying, guy's a lawyer, he's not going to last up here.
I hope he didn't put money on that, Norm.
Well, he had to get a different job is what it is.
And the other real focus community involvement up there is virtually from the beginning. I got involved with the Donner Summit Fire Department. It was a brand new creation in 1974, and I was there at the beginning, worked my way up through the ranks, and from about 1979 on was either the chief or the assistant chief for the years up to today.
And you still are the chief up there.
Assistant chief, yeah.
So you've got your hands full pretty much all of the time. Maria, as a business owner up there, you're a relative newcomer to the summit.
That's correct.
Tell if you will about your history, how you got there, why you chose the summit, and what do you see as your opportunities up there?
Well, in regards to the summit, we actually, my husband and I discovered it about 20 years ago. And for the last 15 years have been weekend commuters to the summit. And 4 years ago, we decided that we wanted to make that our primary home and residence. And a year ago, took on the business opportunity to run the Summit Restaurant and Bar, which is actually located in the old Donner Summit Lodge building. Therefore, our two children are at Donner Trail Elementary School, part of the two-school classroom facility that's there, and we have become completely immersed in the Summit ways of life.
All of them.
Yes.
And Bill, a little background. Tell us what you do for Sugar Bowl and how long you've been there, and a little bit about Sugar Bowl.
I'm the marketing manager there. I've been there for 5 years. Actually grew up in the area. And Sugar Bowl has been really exciting over the last 5 years to be there. We've made a lot of major improvements, and really the last 4 out of 5 years have been record seasons for us. So it's certainly been a time of boom, and we're going to continue to develop our resort. We're going to keep the development within Sugar Bowl. We're going to do it. We know Sugar Bowl best, so we're going to do it ourselves. We're not going to bring in someone from outside, and it's going to be fairly minor development, really. We're never going to be a destination resort. We realize that. We're going to cater to the locals. We're going to cater to the day skiers. I don't think the Donner Summit will, maybe one day it will be, but right now it certainly isn't a destination for that people are coming from across the country. It's 90% Northern California visitors, and we'll continue to cater to those people.
Harvest that market.
Exactly.
Now, I'm noticing your shirt says Sugar Bowl established 1939. Certainly Sugar Bowl has seen some changes, but it began as a very sort of private ski area.
Yeah, it was almost a private club for many years. And it was kind of the many wealthy and famous people from down in the Bay Area came to Sugar Bowl to recreate. But now it's changed. It's really become, the owners have realized that it needs to be financially viable. So we've made these improvements to compete with some of the other big resorts. And we have a big advantage. Donner Summit is the closest winter recreation area to Sacramento and the Bay Area. The biggest population centers in Northern California. So it's certainly a great opportunity, and it's one that we've been taking advantage of the last 4 or 5 years.
Well,
certainly.
especially, not to capitalize on a tragedy, but since September 11th, people haven't been prone to fly as much. And if you can capture some of that auto traveler, you've got the Bay Area, as you say, and the Sacramento markets right there at hand. Let's talk a little bit about marketing, and marketing the summit perhaps as a whole, and then marketing your individual businesses. First, is there any cooperative effort among the various businesses in the Donner Summit area for marketing the businesses up there? Is there a chamber for the summit? Or
There isn't a chamber for the summit, but for instance, most of the hotels and lodging properties up on Donner Summit sell our tickets to Sugar Bowl. They get discount tickets. We only have a 30 or 29 room hotel, so we realize we have to depend on a lot of the other Donner Summit to kind of take up that extra, and we help promote some of those local lodges, including some that are up on the summit. So that's certainly one way that we are working together.
Maria, as a new business owner, relatively new up on the summit, how did you develop a marketing plan? Who are you marketing to? And are you doing any cooperative marketing with anybody in the Truckee area, or are you keeping yourself exclusively to the summit, or how are you reaching out there?
Right. Currently at this time, we completed our winter season, and what I was able to do, since the restaurant is actually the first major building that you come to when you take the Soda Springs exit, I was able to go around to the different ski resorts on the mountain and create an information center in my restaurant. Because many times people would be having breakfast and taking advantage of a 2-for-1 or Norm special ski days. And I was able to become that friendly entity that they perhaps would remember when they're next time up on the mountain.
Yeah,
to
the
provide them
self-imposed information center.
Exactly. And basically just took advantage of the influx of population in the winter. Now summer is becoming a whole new ball game in that I'm looking for options. I currently am running an ad in the Sierra Sun and starting to poll my customers to find out exactly where are they coming from at this time. There are many, many things that the summit offers, which is mountain biking and rock climbing and all kinds of summer sports and trails that go on and on and on. So it's a matter of how does one capture that market.
Norm, the Donner Ski Ranch certainly has a number of activities going on in the summer. Highway 40 Motorcycle Days comes to mind as one, but you've got a number of activities. How do you market those?
Well, Maya, it's a lot of word of mouth because the cost of marketing, as we all know, is very, very costly. And when you just go out and market like that, are you touching the people you want? We typically work in every event that we do. For instance, we just put on a Jeep rock climbing event, which is very, very much like our trials events that we put on the motorcycle trials. And we drew 1,000 paid spectators for that event. And I know in checking with the grocery store and checking with the service station, I didn't check with Donner Summit Lodge and these folks here, but I know we brought business to town. And that's what it's going to take. And summer is where it's at. We've got to work on summer events. The Boreal concert that was just had brought a lot of people to our town. We've got coming up 4, 5, 6 events. We do 5 bicycle races all summer long. We're involved with the Donner Party Hike. We put on the old Highway 40 Motorcycle Days. We're putting on the Trials de España, which is a very, very world-class trials event. And a lot of people have been asking me, when are we having another world-type class event? And that one will be coming up the 3rd and 4th of August. I think that's where I'm at. I'm not looking for a way to market or partner some of these things that are different. But anyway, that's what I'm trying to do.
So just trying to keep
to
activities going in the summer. Steve, you're sort of bi-coastal, if you will. You spend time in Truckee, you spend time on the summit. What do you see as some of the opportunities, maybe lost opportunities, or what are some of the challenges facing businesses on the summit?
The biggest challenge is that we seem to be the forgotten corner. We're not part of, there's not a strong sense of being part of the larger community and the opportunities that the larger community offers. Certainly there's been some significant second home residential growth, so there are a number of people up there in the summer looking at it from the fire department perspective. We really run as many calls, emergency calls in August as we do in February. But we do cover, when we say the summit, our fire department responsibility area goes all the way to Blue Canyon and halfway down the hill to Truckee and both sides of the interstate 10 miles out into the backcountry. And so when there are people up here, the fire department is busy, whether they're here for the winter activities or the summer activities.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because the complexion of the communities up on the summit has changed from being, and as it has for every community up here, from being more smaller homes, the folks that work on the summit and live on the summit, to we're seeing more larger second homes, third homes even, and a whole sort of shift in the demographics. With that shift, are you seeing those folks staying in the area when they come to visit their second homes? For instance, if they're building out in the Norden area, or if they're out at Soda Springs, are they staying there? Are they going to Tahoe on their time? Do you have a sense of that? And I'll take this from anybody.
I think very limited. I think we have the second homeowner that is, I think, a lot like Truckee. We have a lot of wonderful, big, beautiful homes, but they aren't really supporting the communities. And I know the summit is not that way. We aren't being supported. We need to get more of the people that are involved in the summit, whether it be management of any of the places, a business or whatever, to live in our town, our school that her children go to. We have a wonderful little school down there.
Yes.
And there's only 10 or 12 kids from the summit. The rest of them are imports. You know, and
From
I'm
as
not
far away as Truckee.
I'm not against that, because when his wife, Tam Lieberman, come to me and said, we've got to keep that school open.
Yes.
And we said, we won't let them close it. We came down here and said, you're not going to close our school. End of story. So it's still there, but I just wish that the people, because it would bring it back, the people that live on the summit and work there, I just wish that they would become back involved with the community. We had a community club with over 200 members at one time. That would bring the support back to the town, but we don't have that. We do not have a community anymore. We just have a little place.
And I agree with Norm on that. We see it in the fire department that of the paid staff, the career staff at the fire department, over 2/3 don't live on the summit. Of the volunteers, you don't have the old-fashioned community person participating. There are probably two, and I'm one of them, are there.
And Norm's the other, right.
Norm put in a lot of time with the public utility district there. But because there is such a significant second homeowner base, there are people whose hearts and souls aren't in the community, they're elsewhere.
Right.
And when they come up, their focus is on their home and getting away from the stress and problems of wherever they've come from, but it is not extensively to get involved in a local community.
Well, I have a couple of questions about the governance of Donner Summit, and also I think we should talk about engaging those second homeowners and how that happens. But Bill, I'd like to get some of your thoughts on this as we're talking about that. Do you find that impacts your business, or is your business really just so specific to the winter folks coming up that you're not seeing that one way or the other?
Well, I mean, we're going to be doing some music events later on this summer, but we found it really hard in the summer as well to do events, to attract people, and we've really just taken a step back and decided that we're not going to try to do major events. We do weddings, we do corporate retreats, and it works out great. I mean, it's a beautiful, very private, very quiet setting. There's not many places in Tahoe where you can get that. So we've just kind of taken a step back and said, I don't think we can make these major events financially successful, unfortunately, although we're going to, like I said, do some music events later on this summer, but we're pretty much sticking to our weddings, which we do every weekend.
Yeah, I'm sure you must be booked all the way through the summer for that.
And I think Donner Summit is just like any other place as far as doing business. You have to adapt with changing times, and Soda Springs is a great example. I mean, they're obviously not a big ski resort, but they hadn't been attracting a lot of people there, but they actually have one of the best tubing centers in Northern California now, and they're packed.
It's very busy.
They're packed, so they adapted, and it's definitely tougher to do in the summertime, certainly.
What about the governance of the summit? You're not incorporated, so you're mostly Nevada County, a little bit of Placer County?
Well, in terms of population, probably a bigger population county side.
Okay.
The county line really goes right down the middle, and if you look at it on the interstate winds back and forth from Nevada to Placer County 5 different times. So that impacts the community, the sense of community. If you need something, you're looking at 2 different counties, and you're a remote outpost for both of those counties.
One of the things that we've talked about in this community, and it's only really half jokingly, is County 59. Creating the 59th county in the state of California that better represents the demographics up here, and that includes Donner Summit, Truckee, the West Shore, the North Shore of Lake Tahoe. That's really the region we think about when we think about our region. How much of an outpost do you feel like up on the summit? Do you really feel like you're getting representation from your representatives, or do you feel like you're just sort of left there to
I think
Jolly Roger?
we're tough in Nevada County. We are a lost child. Most of the people in Nevada County from right at the top don't even realize that we have a PUD in our community. They don't even realize that we have a fire department. And that is our local government, so to speak. But I think there's ways that we can help this situation in minor ways. I'm pushing hard right now to get put out on the road a sign that says Donner Pass Road, which I think is famous worldwide. Along with that, we're able to get Highway 40 declared a historical route, and we can now get those signs up, and I'm hoping that even Truckee will get the signs up on Donner Pass Road. I'd stand up and show you the back of my shirt, but later. But anyway, along with that, we're now trying to process another resolution that will get the Lincoln Highway declared that. And I think the reason for that is the restaurants. That can start, if we can get people to recognizing that the road is still there, I think we can bring some people off the road, and that would be the start of bringing, I think, business back to the community on an ongoing basis, not just a weekend or two here and there, because some events are putting on. If the Bowl does some concerts, which I'm all in favor of, if they get some things going, I just wished it was more known that they're doing that, because that would help us to bring stuff to town. But little things like that take some effort, but we truly don't have an organization on the summit that wants to be involved with that. It's kind of a, well, it's hard. It's a one-man show, and that's myself, always looking for those kind of things, because everybody else just looks at it and says, oh, well, we don't need it. And we do need it.
How can Truckee and Tahoe help with that? What is the community's off the hill? I hate to refer to Truckee as being off the hill, but how?
Quite a bit lower.
I know, but we really are down valley. What are some ways that the community here can help engage the community there and become one community, if that's the goal? I don't know that it is. I would hope that it would be. I would hope that that partnership, as I see it, is fairly critical. Certainly the transportation from folks staying in Truckee to getting to Sugar Bowl, to getting to Donner Summit Lodge in the winter, having that Highway 40 pass open is critical. Having signage that people understand that there are ski resorts this way, there are ski resorts that way, there are things to do. How do we engage with each other? How do we begin that dialogue?
Well, I mean, that's the transportation that's the main reason that Sugar Bowl plows Old Highway 40 is we realize that we're slammed every weekend, but we want to start catering to the locals, or continue to cater to the locals. Keep that road open. It's a 10-minute drive from Truckee. I think that's just one of the ways. We've also had some discounts midweek, try to bring people up there. I think that's important to get the locals skiing up there and not just thinking of North Star and Squaw Valley and Alpine Meadows as the local resorts. Donner Summit is their local ski area too.
You hear people talking about, I went to the ranch today or went to Sugar Bowl today. I'm not sure how many of those folks are hopping on the bus, and I'm not sure how many of those folks that are hopping on the bus are second homeowners or tourists. Seems to me I ought to know those numbers. That would be a question worth asking. But transportation is one piece of it. I think marketing, joint marketing opportunities is another piece of that. And I'm not sure how active any of your businesses are with the Truckee Donner Chamber of Commerce. Does that make sense? Is that an agency that works for you or not? And apologies to the Truckee Donner for stepping on your toes if that's what I'm doing, but just a question for you. Is that an appropriate place for you to be?
Well, we're involved with them, and they actually have done some national advertising for the ski resorts in the area, and Sugar Bowl has been a part of that. There's not really any way for us to do any national advertising. I mean, we don't have budgets for that, and we realize that 90% of our customers come from Northern California, so we're going to stick with that. So that certainly helps.
And yet here you are on the periphery of an international destination. Tahoe certainly is an international destination. Truckee enjoys some of that just by nature of being 13 miles away and being the gateway. And then Donner Summit again on the next ring can enjoy some of that if folks know of you. I'm not sure how many visitors to Truckee know about Donner Summit.
I'm not sure if we're ever going to bring them here from internationally or even nationally, but once they get here, I think we could probably do a better job. They're here for 7 days. Get them to Donner Summit for a couple days. Some local advertising and promotion.
My impression, not as a business person, but as somebody who lives here, is that there is not enough integration of the Donner Summit ski resorts into the Tahoe marketing. I don't get the impression when I arrive at the Reno airport or something that Donner Summit is part of
The bigger
the choices
scene.
that are otherwise Heavenly, Squaw Valley, and so forth.
Well, and then again, there's the challenge of summer marketing, which is a whole nother animal. And how do you keep your businesses going year round? As you say, you're striving customer base. You've got the wedding and the conference base, Norm. You've got the Rough Riders on 2 wheels and 4 wheels coming up and doing different events at the ranch. And Maria, I imagine you're capturing anybody that you can.
Right. And you know, along the lines of the Donner Summit, what's real interesting is many people will ask me, so where is Donner Lake? Where is the pass? And I'll say, oh, you have to drive down this road, you know, and I send them the scenic route.
The scenic way.
And they know it's a piece of history, but they're not quite sure in relation to Highway 80 how they get there.
Yeah, they see it from the freeway. There it is. I wonder how we get there.
Right. And there's that beautiful lake.
See, I think that's the major problem. And that's what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to say that how do we get the minimum of signage out there? Because if we look at the amount of cars, as I said earlier when we started, when we look at the amount of people that drove over Donner Summit, Donner Pass, it was awesome, the amount of people. The traffic was bumper to bumper to bumper to bumper for years and years and years. Many a time at Donner Ski Ranch, for me to come down to Donner Lake and go water skiing, it would take me 45 minutes to get into the traffic to come down here. She's waving at you, Maya. So she says, Norm, shut up. But anyway, I still am saying that hardcore, that like these folks here, we need to invite more people to come to our town and like it and say, you know what, I'm going to go in business there. And that will help the structure start to go, because then we can build up a nucleus again that we used to have. We can, wintertime, who cares? We're going to do business in the winter. It doesn't matter. Hardcore. So anyway, how can we get more summer business? I really think that's the place to go.
Great. Norm, a great last word as usual. I'll let you take that one. Steve Lieberman, thank you so much for being on the show. Norm Sayler, Maria Montano, thank you for joining us. And Bill Hudson, great to have you back. Thanks. What are you doing this summer? Well, maybe you ought to head up to Donner Summit and see what they're doing this summer. Let's go visit our neighbors. Be sure to include them in our community. Thanks for joining us on Truckee Talks, and we'll see you next week.